But this was Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, emanating from the aforementioned Londinium, England. And remember, it had caused me consternation that there was going to be 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches amongst a total of 13 people on the same show. And at least they decided, okay, we'll put the men's Money in the Bank ladder match on very first thing, because at least then the girls won't take the edge off of it, the bloom off the rose, so to speak, by having one first. But then the feature attraction, not the main event, which was Uso's bloodline business, but the feature attraction, what it's named after, is the first match on the show. Is there any balance anymore? But in the Attitude Era or in previous times, everybody in this match would have been the level of a Undertaker or a Foley or an Austin or a Rock or a et cetera, et cetera. But here we got Butch, Shaky Nakamura, Pablo Escobar, Damian Priest, Ricochet, Logan Paul, and the beleaguered LA Knight. So by process of elimination, the match is to determine somebody that can cash in for a title match. You're going to take Butch out of that. You're going to take Shaky out of that. You're going to take Ricochet out of that. And right now, maybe in the future, but right now, you're going to take Escobar out of that. So the whole thing comes down to, I buy Damian Priest, Logan Paul, or LA Knight to get this opportunity right off the bat. So now it becomes, of a match to do a lot of stunts with ladders. Is what and that's obviously what they intended anyway. But if you look at it, I mean, Priest comes out and he's wearing an outfit that puts old Will Ostriches to shame, except he doesn't look like he's a teenage kid cosplaying a video game villain or a science fiction movie bad guy. He looks like one. He looks cool as shit because the suit fits him. You see what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, look, these kids are dressing up as their favorite, alien in video game from Mars or whatever. Logan Paul is a natural heel, and he's a real athlete with an over-the-top personality that works in wrestling. And I don't mean he's a real athlete in terms of he's a goddamn NCAA champion. I'm saying he's obviously an athlete, and he's done shit to get attention enough for himself. And with that personality, that's kind of guy that's natural for wrestling. How old is he? Did we ever determine that?
I think he was in his late 20s. Let me double check.
Well, since you've got everything right there at your fingertips, but he's not even really too late to start training.
28.
28, there you go. Guys have debuted later than that. So for his level of experience, though, in the ring, he's remarkable.
Beyond the in-ring work, he has everything else. His in-ring work has been really good from what we've seen so far. Again, it's a modern style, but really good. But in terms of facial expressions, he has the promo, he has the natural charisma, he has the look, he has size. If he was ever desperate enough for money that he would work a full-time wrestling schedule, he may be the best heel in the business.
Well, yeah, because, and I say his work now, obviously he couldn't lead a match, and he's not going to be in there calling intricate, one tackle, drop down, hip toss, kick me off, arm drag, drop kick, whatever the fuck, on the fly. But for not only performing the moves that he's that he needs to perform, but also not hurting people and not getting in somebody else's way. For this level of experience, that's where you compliment his work at this point. It's not like he's, goddamn Dick Beyer is going to come and, teach a class yet, but nevertheless. But then at 12 minutes into the show, the bell rings. And it's a 7-way, 100 miles an hour. And there were highlights every time that somebody stopped Logan Paul from climbing the ladder. They pop. And what was Escobar wearing that he looked either like a 1890s train robber or a raccoon? What? Did you see that? What was that?
I did see. I didn't think those were the two options, but I can't explain it otherwise.
Well, anyway, and then, when you think about what I just said with the process of elimination, in the fans' minds, Logan Paul has already had Roman Reigns. And since he's kind of a big match guy, you don't necessarily see him cashing in versus anybody else. And then it has to be LA Knight or Priest. Who else would you buy against Reigns or Seth Rollins if it was that title? But anyway, if the multiple ladders weren't enough, Butch pulled out 2 tables and then got one of those cricket sticks and hit everybody with that. Anyway, at that point, Priest and Logan Paul get a tenuous alliance where Damian started to go for him, but he begged off and said, hey, we ought to work together. And they set up the 2 tables out on the floor and get them in the right place. And then, of course, Priest nails Logan Paul. And then he tried to put Butch through the table, but Butch stopped that. And then I just stopped trying to keep track of what was going on here, because it's just, again, they had a ladder bridged from the apron to the stairs, and Logan Paul splashed Priest on it and bounced off of it because the ladder's not going to break. They had a spot with a ladder between the ropes and the other ladder. And again, if it was just the 3 guys, maybe it would be better and easier to keep track of. And then, if for some reason, Butch put a ladder up on the floor and climbed it and flipped off the top of the ladder onto a group of other guys on the floor. For what reason? How is that going to help him get the fuck? It's a ladder match. So finally, moving to the finish, they had 2 ladders set up in the middle. And Logan Paul and Escobar were on one, and Ricochet and Nakamura were on the other. And then Ricochet and Logan Paul kicked Escobar and Nakamura's ladder over. But then LA Knight pushed Logan Paul and Ricochet's over, and they were going to try to land on the top rope, but they didn't. So they kind of stayed there for a minute while they got back on course, and then Ricochet gave Logan Paul, apparently, what was that supposed to be, the Spanish Fly?
I think so. I mean, again, it was at a different angle and it was very rushed. But I think that was the intention.
They had to rush it because they were trying to fucking do a goddamn tightrope act with the ladder still leaning on the top rope, and 212, Logan Paul's 200 something pounds, Ricochet 160 on it, and they backflipped off the top rope and went headfirst through the tables. Actually, through the second table. The first one just turned over because they mostly missed that. And what the fuck? Why would you even think you should do something like that if you could nail it 100 times out of 100?
What I meant to say earlier, too, was if he worked a full-time schedule, Logan Paul could be the best heel in the business if he didn't kill himself. Because the other thing is, he seems to be willing to do anything in these matches.
Yeah, but why would either guy? The experienced professional, Ricochet. Oh, my God. But yeah, they very nearly completely head first. So anyway, then LA Knight cleared the ring of everybody else besides Logan Paul and Ricochet, and had who had already taken themselves out, and had the case in his hand, and Priest grabbed him by the throat and give him the goddamn deal, and then climbed the ladder and got the case. 20 minutes of just chaos with ladders. You can't, it's umpteen hospitalization angles, and too many people in there that are just in there to do flips off the top rope. I don't know. What'd you think?
I thought it was all right. Again, I've been overexposed to these kind of matches, but to me, a lot of the story was what they were going to do. I'm happy Damian Priest won this, because that's a sign that they're going to maybe try to elevate him, and he has certainly shown that he warrants being elevated.
Well, I think they're already in the process of it
Yeah.
with the matches he's had recently.
I think so. LA Knight, the story of the match, to me, the biggest story of the match was the fans there overwhelmingly wanting him to win, being disappointed when he didn't win, being, bothered when he would get pulled down thinking he may win, and then when he didn't win, they got disappointed.
Yeah.
LA Knight is a story. Hopefully they recognize it and do something. I will say if they do something, I'd rather it be without him having to hold the briefcase for like 8 months or whatever it is, because that's a tiresome thing. But Logan Paul, again, he does crazy stuff, and a couple times now it's been with Ricochet now that I think about it. That one spot at the Royal Rumble where they crashed midair above the ring, that was him and Ricochet.
Yeah. They bring out the worst in each other.
He does, these crazy things, and I hate that I always think about like knee injuries and stuff, but because of his frame, just his how long his legs are, some of his landings, I'm like, oh, he's going to kill his knees. If he could stay healthy, he could be great, but he does a lot of crazy shit, so let's see if he can stay healthy. That was nasty. When they showed the replay, I was like, let me see where his head, how did he go through that table? How did he hit the ground?
Well, and the other knucklehead was right there next to him.
Well, the referees all ran to Logan Paul, if you noticed. There was like 2 or 3 referees on Logan Paul to see if he was alive after that.
They know which side of the biscuit the butter is contained on.